Good afternoon. My name is Holly Blaze. I'm the confirmation coordinator here at St. Andrew. And this video is for parents of current eighth graders who weren't able to make it to the eighth grade parent meeting. I'm going to cover everything in this video that I will cover in the meeting that is actually happening tonight. And then on our website or through our app, there will be a PDF available for you to download that has all the information. So don't feel like you have to sit and take, copious notes or anything like that. All the information that you'll need will be on that PDF, or you'll find it on our website on the confirmation page of the St. Andrew website. So my habit is to use a lot of slides. So I am going to get started with that. Let me say a quick prayer and then we'll get going. Father God, thank you so much for the parents who are watching this. I pray for their families and their eighth graders as they prepared to start confirmation. I pray that this will be a program that will change the lives of these students as well as these families, that it will increase their faith, that they will either renew or become engaged with a relationship with you through our program and through the student ministry activities. Father, I pray all the words that come out of my mouth during this time will be pleasing and acceptable to you. I ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen. All right. Well, every year I pick a theme verse for confirmation classes. This year's theme verse, or the one for next year, confirmation 2022, comes out of Acts 17:27. And the verse is, in fact, God isn't that far away from any of us. And so that will sort of be the theme. This is the logo. Every time you see this logo, you'll know it is about something about your child's class. Every class has a different logo. So if you see a different logo, check yourself and make sure you're, getting the information that's for your class. Right now, we are at the tail end of the 2021 class. So I do have some things going up on our app and on our website that is just for them. So just to make sure there isn't any confusion, you're looking for the anchor. And I love, this is by far my favorite logo that they've ever made for me for my confirmation classes. All right, like I said, my name's Holly Blaze. My last name is spelled B-L-A-I-S, but it's pronounced Blaze, like the fire. My email here at work is hblaze@standrewumc.org. And I really don't use my work number that's listed on the staff directory. It's just easier to get a hold of me on my cell phone. My cell number is 214-766-0739. I am a big texter. I really don't like to talk on the phone too much. Of course I will, but texting and email is really the best way to get a hold of me. If you have questions, if you have concerns, now until the end of confirmation next year or past that, anytime, please feel free to reach out to me. I usually like to start these meetings by telling you a little bit about myself. So this is my family. This was taken at the Outer Banks this summer when we were there on vacation. That's my husband in the neon green hat. And then me, the gentleman in the front taking the selfie is actually our oldest son, Jackson. And next to him is his wife, Sarah. They just got married in June. They will be having a bigger wedding celebration this coming June, so they can have a proper reception. And then our other son, Caleb, is just behind me. And one of the reasons why I want to share, let you see who my family is because they are a reason why I am here in this position. So about 2008, my oldest son, Jack, the one right there in the front, was in eighth grade and was going to start confirmation. And I was sitting in a meeting listening from Jeannie Smith all about confirmation. And I did not grow up in the Methodist church. So I decided I would sign up to be a small group leader because I was just curious to see what he would learn. And I wanted to learn things myself. And from that, I found myself volunteering in the student ministry. I went on some trips, started going on retreats, and just really fully embracing the student ministry department and everything that they did for our middle school and high school students. When my youngest son, Caleb, went through confirmation, I did the same thing. I became a small group leader on Sunday mornings. It became sort of my thing. I loved being around the students and I loved being around the student staff at that time. My sons weren't quite as excited about having me around, but they tolerated me. The year that Caleb graduated from high school, That summer, it was announced that Mac Abernathy, who was the coordinator before me, was going to be leaving. And I just happened to mention to Reese Pops, who was the student ministry director at the time, that I always thought teaching confirmation would be really fun. So I applied for the position, and lo and behold, they hired me. And I have been here since September of 2015. We actually dropped Caleb off at Northwestern, flew home, and I started work the next day. I love working in this department. Here are the people in our department. Let me see if I can move my face out of the way so you can see everybody. Oh, maybe it's not going to let me do that. So Michael Agnew is the guy with the beard. He is our student ministry director. He was actually took his position just a few weeks before mine. I was his first hire, and we have been working together for all this time. I have said this before, and I really feel like Michael is anointed to be in this position. He is great with kids. He is great with families. He has a very strong moral and faith compass. And I just love working with him, and I love following him as a leader. Michael, for the most part, teaches high school. He really does a little bit of everything, but on Sunday mornings, you'll find him down teaching high school. The next person on the screen is Melissa Adams, probably someone who is somewhat familiar with you. She is our middle school coordinator. I adore Melissa. I think she is perfect for this job as well. We have a lot of fun together. She adores middle schoolers. She's so good with families, but she does do some high school mentoring and supports things in high school as well. But you probably know her already. The woman in the middle is Heather Brown. Some of you may not be as familiar with her. She is our administrative assistant, and Heather is wonderful. If you ever have questions about forms, payments, releases, anything administrative, Heather is the one to go to. If you email me, most likely I will forward your email on to her. She is incredibly competent, very good at her job, and is very eager to help and support families when it comes to all the administrative stuff. The next person that you see is Luke Roberson. He's actually the newest member of our team. He's a part-time member. He does a lot of our social media and technical stuff, lighting and sound and things like that. Luke actually grew up through our program here at St. Andrew, and he is currently working on his master's at Dallas Baptist. And so he helps us out on a part-time basis. And then the last person on the screen is Brian Drew. Brian also grew up through this program. Brian was in the same class as our youngest son, Caleb. So the fact that I taught him in Sunday school and now he's a coworker still blows my mind. But Brian is in charge of our community outreach program and our college ministry. He is incredibly gifted when it comes to a lot of things. I can't imagine our staff without him, but he is the last person on our staff. So this is the whole student ministry staff that you see on the screen right now. All right, so let's talk about confirmation. Let's see if I can move my face now back up here. All right, confirmation is a time of study, service, worship, and community designed to affirm one's faith, personal profession of faith. I think of it as a time. So for 20 years or so, at St. Andrew, confirmation has started in the 8th grade. Most Methodist churches do confirmation in 6th grade, but way back 20 or so years ago, it was decided to move it up to 8th grade. And I'm so glad it was. I think 8th graders have a better interest in learning about their faith. I think they are better at critical thinking and asking those hard questions. I think they get a lot more out of it than 6th graders do, just because they are just that much more mature. And so up until 8th grade, most kids have heard what they learned in Sunday school, what you as parents have taught them about their faith. And now is the time for them to start really digging into their faith, questioning things, wondering things, so that they can decide what they want to believe on their own. During confirmation, I work very hard to get kids to discuss and talk about hard questions, a lot of questions that we really don't have good answers to. But I think it's important for them to know that it's okay to ask those questions. And sometimes you get answers to those questions, and sometimes you get to the place where not having an answer is okay. But all of that is the part of is part of confirmation, where they can start thinking on their own what they believe and why they believe it. Not just, I believe this because my parents have told me to believe it, but I believe this because I really have looked at this and this is what I believe now. A lot of it can be struggles and difficulties. There are times where we have lessons that are not very easy because these are questions that everybody asks and not everybody has answers to, or questions that don't always have answers. And I just want to say to you as parents, that is okay. Please let your kids wrestle a little bit. Let them be a little confused. Let them try to figure things out and understand on their own. I am a real believer that a faith that is not struggled with or wrestled with is not going to be a deep-seated faith. That one that just they accept everything that they're told and they just say, okay, I believe that, is going to be a faith that's going to leave them very quickly as they become young adults, especially in college and beyond that. I think faith really needs to be thought through and discussed and decided upon on an individual basis. And that's partially what confirmation is set up to do. The ultimate goal for confirmation is for the student to take ownership of their faith by becoming a more active and committed disciple of Jesus Christ. Now, I am not going to sit here and tell you that your kid who has absolutely no interest in God right now is going to leave confirmation totally in love with God and a completely different person. That very rarely happens. But what I can tell you is that your child will leave confirmation with a better understanding of who God is based on scripture. They will leave confirmation with thoughts and ideas of why Jesus and Christianity is the one true religion and why putting your faith and trust in Jesus is important. And those seeds, I believe, even if they don't embrace them or accept them now, I believe those are seeds that will be planted so that later in their life, whether it's later in their high school years or in college or as young adults, they will remember back things that they learned in confirmation, things that happened to them while they were in student ministry, and God will start to really become real to them based on the things that they hear in confirmation. So, like I said, while I would love for every student to leave confirmation totally in love with Jesus, that just doesn't happen. But that still doesn't mean it's not a valid program and something that's important for all of your kids to participate in. All right, so one of the biggest changes that we're making in confirmation for next year is we're actually cutting the time that we're going to do confirmation almost in half. This is a decision that I have been considering doing for the last 2 or 3 years. Finally, I took it to Michael and presented it to him. Then we went to Kim Meyer, the head of family ministries, and presented it to her. She took it up the chain. So Forrest and Arthur and the senior leadership of the church is all on board with this. And I want to walk through the steps of what exactly that means. For years and years and years, like I said, almost 20 years, confirmation at St. Andrew has gone from January of the 8th grade year until November of the 9th grade year. And what I have learned over the 6 years that I have done this job is that the summertime is a time when attendance is usually very low and very spotty, which makes sense because people are on vacation, kids are at camps, everybody's off doing other things. And then trying to get some of those kids who haven't been around during the summer to re-engage in the fall is very, very difficult. Every year I have a handful of kids that just drop out of the program when the fall comes because it's time to get back into the routine of coming to confirmation on Sunday morning, and they have just lost all interest in coming. And so they eventually end up dropping. It's also hard to get people that momentum to keep going when they haven't been there, even if they don't drop. The other thing is because attendance is so high in the spring and in the fall, I have tended to keep all of my really crucial lessons, the lessons that I want everybody to hear, I plan them so they happen in the spring and in the fall. And in the summer, we cover things, but it's not the super important things or the things that I think are most critical to their faith walk or understanding who God is. It's important, but it's not that critical stuff. I keep those for the spring and the fall when I know most of the kids will be there to be exposed to it. There are also times in the summer where we just don't meet as a class because of mission trip or camp impact or other things that are happening. Because attendance is low, we have a tendency to consolidate our classes on Sunday mornings. And so there are a few more times in the summer where we don't meet as a confirmation class in the summertime because we're meeting with high schoolers or high school and middle school all together. So I sat down and I did some calculations. In 2019, which was the last year that we had confirmation from January through November, that full year, we had 42 weeks of classes scheduled. And for 20 of those weeks, we didn't meet. At that time, we were doing something called First Sundays, which meant that on the, or fifth Sunday, sorry. So on every fifth Sunday, we would meet as a big group downstairs. Either I was out of town and so somebody filled in, but didn't necessarily do confirmation curriculum on those days. We didn't meet on Easter. We didn't meet on some of the holidays. We would consolidate because we knew attendance would be down. So in essence, in the class of 2019, even though they went from January to November, they only had 22 weeks of actual confirmation lessons. 2020, we're not going to worry about because that was COVID and that was just all, messed up. This year, we started confirmation in March because of COVID, and we've gone from the end of March until November. We had 33 weeks that were scheduled, and in 13 of those weeks, we didn't meet for the same reason during the summer. It was mission trip, camp impact. I was out of town. We met jointly because we knew attendance was going to be down. And so we only had 20 weeks of actual lessons. The other thing that I realized and has struck me is one of the reasons they decided to make confirmation go from January into November is to help bridge that gap between the 8th and 9th grade year. We know how difficult transitioning from middle school to high school is for our students. And so the idea was they would be in confirmation that whole time. And so they would be with people who either they might see in their schools that they would know are, confirmation church friends, or they would just have this constant going through that year to help them make that adjustment. But what we didn't appreciate is that at St. Andrew in June is when students are promoted. So at the beginning of June, the 8th graders start, they become 9th graders as far as student ministry is concerned. That's when they make that jump from middle school to high school. So on mission trip and on Camp Impact, confirmands would hang out and start to meet and get to know high schoolers because they are considered high schoolers. But on Sunday mornings from June until November, they're segregated out because they come up and they meet differently. So they don't really have that chance to integrate with the high schoolers the way that we would like them to. And so for all of those reasons, in 2022, confirmation is going to go from January of the 8th grade year until the end of May of that 8th grade year. At the end of May, we will have the confirmation service. They will consider to be graduated out of the program. And so starting in the summer, they will start meeting with the high school, Sunday school. So those connections that they make as they move into high school, it will really launch them, we're hoping, into this really good relationship and community with the high school students that we have already. Don't worry, because it will be 20 weeks of class between January 9th and May 22nd. That is 20 weeks of classes. So your students will be getting the exact same number of classes that the class this year has gotten, and just 2 less than the classes have gotten in the past when they've gone the whole year. The other thing I'm hoping is that with this more condensed timetable, that people will make it more of a priority, that kids will come and attendance will be better. We'll have this really great, winter, spring semester, and then we'll be able to launch them off into the student ministry. We have heard from some parents that they're concerned that we are losing that bridge between middle school and high school. And Michael and I have committed to during the summertime and when school is starting, that we will make a concentrated effort to make sure those new ninth graders are feeling welcomed and connected to other kids that are going to the same schools that they are. We understand that that's a valuable asset of confirmation going over the entire calendar year, and we don't want to lose that. So we will be doing some things next year in that July, August, September time period to help make that transition easier for our new ninth graders. We don't want you to think that we will ignore that benefit of confirmation. So next year, confirmation, it's actually going to start a little bit earlier than it usually does. It's going to start on January 9th. We will go through May 22nd. Like I said, it will consist of 22 weeks of class, which is the same number of this year's class. All the really, really good stuff your kids will get. And this shortened time frame will allow confirmands to permanently join their high school peers in June. We're really hoping that this is going to be a good and positive change, and one that we can build on in the years to come. All right, so what do Sunday mornings look like if you're in confirmation? Kids start to gather. We meet up in Festival Hall. Kids come together about 9:15. I try to get started very much on time at 9:30. We usually have a lot to do in that hour. From 9:30 to 9:40, we do prayer requests. I give announcements. We sort of get the morning started. I give the lesson from 9:40 to about 10 o'clock, maybe a little bit after 10. And then they meet in their small groups from 10:05 or 10:10 until about 10:30. And in their small group, what they're doing is they're going over discussions, questions, games, things like that, that relate back to the lesson, that help reinforce or help generate some of that really good discussion that I like to see talking about a topic. And then at 10:30, they are dismissed. A lot of them go to the sanctuary for the contemporary service at 11 o'clock. Some kids leave, some kids have, commitments, sports commitments and stuff, but it's just that 1 hour, 9:30 to 10:30 on Sunday mornings, that I really need your kids to be here. The curriculum, what are some of the things that we cover? I start off the year talking about the Bible. I talk about Bible discrepancies. That's one of those things that kids always ask. Why does it looks like it has two opposing views in the Bible, and how do you rectify that? And so we do a whole lesson on that. We talk about creation. Can you believe in creation and evolution? We talk about Adam and Eve, which jumps us into talking about sin and redemption, and that we're all sinners and we all are in need of a savior. Towards the end of the year, we start covering topics like what happens when we die, why is there evil and suffering in the world? We talk about world religions, how Christianity is different from all other world religions. And because grace was so important to John Wesley, the founder of Methodism, we take 2 weeks to talk about the 3 kinds of grace that he talks about and why they're so unique and so special to Christianity. This isn't the complete list of curriculum. If you want to see everything your kids will be learning, I'll be happy to give you that list. This is just a little tasting of what we cover, but I want you to understand that every lesson is good. I feel like every week I say, oh, this is my favorite. This is so good. They're going to be so interested in this. And with the new condensed time frame, that definitely will be the case. All right, so some important dates for next year. January 9th is the first day of class. February 5th, in the past, we have done a weekend retreat where we take confirmands and parents. We used to go to Pine Cove for the weekend. Pine Cove is no longer allowing outside groups to come. So we have decided that we're going to make it a 1-day retreat. We'll probably start about 9 in the morning. It will probably go till about 5 p.m. It's going to be at Mount Lebanon Camp, which is in Cedar Hill, Texas. Everyone will sort of drive themselves there. We'll have a day where we try to have everything, cram in as much of what we used to do on our confirmand parent retreat into 1 day. And then you guys will be able to go by about 5. It usually is a really good day. I know everybody has very busy schedules and it can be difficult to give up that time, but I promise if you just set aside that day for you and your student, for your confirmand, you will leave there feeling really good about it. It will be a good experience. You get to spend some one-on-one time with your kid. You get to learn more about student ministry. We have some parent speakers come in to tell you about what it's like to have kids in high school, especially, and how to keep them involved in church. So we work really hard to make all of that worth your while. So please mark that on your calendar. As many families as can be there as possible is really what our goal is. All right. Easter is on April 17th next year. We never have class on Easter. So that is the one day of those 4 or 5 months that we won't meet. May 21st will be the day apart retreat. Actually, that is May 14th. I have not changed that yet on this, but May 14th is a Saturday. It's a day apart retreat. That is just for confirmands. They come and it's a way that we finish up the year. I will give you more details on that next year, but it's usually when I ask the kids what are their favorite things in confirmation, day apart retreat is almost always up there. And then finally on May 22nd, which is a Sunday, will be confirmation Sunday. That's the day your kids will be confirmed. So a lot of stuff will be packed in those 5 months, but I promise that it will all be really great. And I really hope that your families will make this a priority. All right. So attendance wise, when I started this job, I had attendance requirements and then I changed them a little bit. And the last few years, I've just sort of given up on that. I know that families are very busy. You know, parents have commitments, kids have sporting events or things that happen. So the expectation is just that your student will be in class every Sunday, if at all possible. If they are in town, I need them to be in class, especially with this condensed time frame. Like I said, classes at 9:30, the dress is very casual. If your kid has to go to a volleyball game or a baseball game after, have them come in their uniform. That is totally fine. But it is important to try to get them there so that they are exposed to as much of it as possible. One of the things I will say, which I have seen year after year after year, what your child gets out of confirmation is going to be directly related to what he puts into it, what he or her puts into it. So if they come and they're involved and they ask questions, they're going to leave with a lot of really great experiences. If they come and are half asleep and don't really care and don't want to participate, then they're not going to get as much out of it as they possibly could. All right, because I started this last year during COVID, all lessons will be recorded very similar to this, and I post them onto our St. Andrew YouTube page and on our student app on Sunday mornings at 9:30. They will be available for the whole year. So if for whatever reason your student has to miss class, they can go back and watch the lesson. At the end of every lesson, I post a list of discussion questions. What would really be perfect is if you could watch the lesson with your student and then talk about the things that you heard or learned or whatever struck you about that particular lesson. That gives them sort of a flavor of their small group discussion, but they have it at home with you. If you're, like I said, if your student is not in class, I strongly encourage you to watch the lessons online. Get your students to watch it online. They're usually 20, 25 minutes and just, I think, filled with really interesting stuff. All right, while there are no other formal requirements, again, I used to have different kinds of requirements and just realized that that is not, it just causes more burdens on the families. I do encourage your students attend as many classes as possible and they participate in 412. 412 is our middle school Sunday evening programming. Melissa does a great job of doing different things. She tries to keep it's very fun, it's very active. Today they're out having a tailgate and playing kickball. A couple of weeks ago, they rented out a whole movie theater and watched a movie together. But it is a way for them to get to know their other confirmands and the other kids in middle school. And we have a lot of our high school students actually help out at 412. So they start to meet some of our high school students too. So if you can get your kids to come to 412 on a regular basis, that's just bonus on top of everything else. All right, so how can you help your confirmand? First, model for them what it means to be a passionate servant of Christ. The hardest thing is for me to talk about how we should be like Jesus, and then they go home and they see something totally opposite. I'm not trying to say you have to become saints all of a sudden, but if you don't think it's important for them to come to church, they're not going to think it's important to come to church. They really are looking for you as their parents to set what the standard is. So just try to keep that in mind while they're in confirmation. Get them to class. Ask them what they talked about in class. As you're driving home or at lunch or whenever, ask what the topic was. Ask what they thought was interesting about it. Was there anything that they didn't understand or they thought didn't make sense to them? That kind of engagement makes them have to put in their own words what they heard. And it's just a really great teaching tool. And you'll have an idea of what we talked about in class. You'll have some idea of some of the discussions that we have. Finally, volunteer when help is needed. That's not very often, but if I put out a call for someone to help me with something, I would love it if parents would step up and then again, get them to 412 in the spring so they can start getting used to being here on Sunday mornings and on Sunday evenings. I do need small group leaders. I usually try to have small groups are divided out by gender. And then in each of the small groups, I usually have about 10 kids in each small group. And I try to have 2 parents in each small group. That way, if one parent can't be there, there's another one who can be there for the morning, leading the discussion in the morning. If this is something that you might be interested in, I would love to have you. We need the leaders. Your job is just to facilitate the group. You do not have to be a Bible scholar or anything like that. I really don't want you to teach very much. I just want you to facilitate the discussion. The goal as a small group leader is really just to make all your confirmands feel welcome, feel like they belong, feel like they're part of the group. You stay in touch with them by text message during the week sometimes, just to check. If you don't see a confirmand for a few weeks, it's great if you check in. Are you doing okay? Is there anything that you need? It's more of a relationship builder than it is needing to know a lot about the Bible. Everything that you need for your discussion, I provide for you. And then I send out an email most Thursdays that have the topic and have what the discussion questions on. So if you're one of those people who likes to be prepared, you can know what we're going to be talking about ahead of time. All right. When you sign your child up, when you register your child for confirmation, you'll have a chance to say if you're interested in being a small group leader or not. And then I will reach out to you when I get those registrations back and let you know. We'll probably have a quick training just before confirmation begins. So you understand, I can give you the names of the people in your groups. Usually I do not let a student be in the same small group as their parent. That tends to stifle discussion sometimes. But if that is something that you think would be beneficial for your student, please let me know. I've definitely made exceptions to that rule. All right, the Confirmand Parent Retreat that I talked about is going to be on February 5th. It'll probably go from about 9 or 9:30 to 5:30 or so. It'll probably be a little shorter than that, but I want to surprise you and let you leave early rather than, if I have to have you stay till 5:30. It's going to be at Camp Lebanon, which is in Cedar Hill. It's for confirmands and their parents. We don't need siblings to come. We don't have any place to, have them be watched. This really is a day for you to take out for your confirmand and spend time with them. The cost is going to be $20 per person, and that's pretty much just helping pay for the camp and the lunch that we'll provide for you. All right, so how do you register for confirmation? Go to On Realm and sign in. If you've never signed into Realm, you'll have to create an account for yourself. Then go to registration events and find Confirmation 22. Again, look for the anchor logo and you'll know you're in the right place, and complete the registration. It is $100 for the entire confirmation program. That's just so that I'm not constantly asking for money for different things. It pays for supplies and t-shirts and just sort of all the odds and ends that I need to make the class happen. And then I also need you to register for the retreat. Those are 2 separate registrations. One is for confirmation itself, and another one is for the retreat that will be on February 5th. Again, it's the same thing. You go onto Realm, look under registration. It'll say 2022 Confirmation Parent Retreat, and then you can complete that registration. Again, it's $20 to attend. To attend the retreat, or if you plan to be a small group leader, we need 3 things from you. We need a medical release form, we need a background check, and we need you to complete the ministry safe training. The medical release is not going to be available until January 1st, so that it will be good for that the entire year next year. I imagine what will happen is when January 1st comes, if we know you're going on the retreat or you want to be a small group leader, Heather or I will email you the medical release form. You just need to fill it out. Heather is a notary, so she can notarize it for you if that makes things easier. She will send you a link to fill out the background check. This is all done electronically. In the past, you've had to fill out paperwork. We don't do that anymore. And then once the background check has been filled out, she will send you a link to do ministry safe training, which all of our volunteers who deal with students or children here at St. Andrew have to complete. Any questions about all of this, go to Heather. She's our admin person. She knows all about this stuff. But basically, all you have to remember is you don't have to worry about this stuff really until January. But I do want to make you aware that those things are going to be necessary. All right, this is just sort of what the registration event page looks like. It's possible confirmation. It's chronological. So confirmation 2022 will probably be towards the bottom of the page. And there it goes. You can just keep going. This is from last year, so you can see how it is, but the little picture that you'll find down there will be the picture with the anchor. So you'll know you're in the right place. All right. So when you're registered, one of the things that we ask in the registration is to name some students that your confirmand would like to be in a small group with. These are friends. I guarantee one friend to be in their small group. Part of the reason of small groups is to get kids to feel, to get to know different people. If there is a student you don't want your confirmand to be in a small group with, please tell me that too. That happens a lot, and I want to avoid anything that would be awkward or make confirmation difficult for your student. If you register by December 30th, I will guarantee that one of the names that you list will be in a small group with your student. After that, I can't always make that promise because I'm just trying to get the groups put together. You also have an opportunity to tell me anything about your student, anything you want me to tell you, just how great they are, if they have any issues, if they have any background that would be helpful for me to know. Whatever it is you want to write, you can put it on there. It all stays very confidential. I'm really the only one who looks at it, but it helps me know what I can do to help make confirmation be a success for your student. Complete information for each parent, even if you are divorced or parents don't live together, having that information for both parents, if it's appropriate, is very helpful to us. And then scholarships are always available for the registration fee or the retreat. So if you have trouble paying the $100 or the $20, reach out to me or to Heather, and we have a scholarship fund and we can help you with that. All right, last things before I finish. To know what's happening in student ministry, you can sign up. We send out a weekly email every Tuesday. If you don't receive that and you want to, you can email Heather and she'll get you on that list. You can follow us on Instagram, where we share a lot of information about things that are going on, dates, deadlines, and things like that. We have an app now that I'll tell you about here in just a second. And on the St. Andrew website, we do have our own confirmation page where there is some information, but that is probably the least up-to-date information is on the webpage. I know, go figure. All right, so this is if you go to St. Andrew Students in the App Store or the Google Store, you can find this app, and confirmation is actually one of the things that stays very up to date, but this is a place where they'd be able to watch their lessons, any announcements, things that are happening, you can find out on this app. All right, that is it. If you have any questions, concerns, please email me. Please let me know. I'm so looking forward to this year's class. I can't wait to meet you and your students. It's going to be a really, really great year. Thanks. Take care.